There it is, right across the water. That is the end of the TMX pipeline. It is overdue and more than 4 times over budget. Canadians own that pipeline, and the price tag is way more than anyone expected. The government's plan is to sell the pipeline and make that money back. But I wanted to know, is that even possible? And why is the project so expensive in the first place? Here's what we know.
It was supposed to cost $7.3 billion to expand the pipeline. The latest estimate is $34 billion. We did the math, and essentially each and every Canadian is on the hook for at least $850 to build the thing. To put it in perspective, $34 billion could pay for 15 hospitals like the one being built in downtown Vancouver right now. It's triple the cost of the current GO train expansion in southern Ontario. Here's the backstory. In 2012, a private company, Kinder Morgan, had a plan to build a new pipeline beside its existing Trans Mountain route, tripling capacity, getting more Alberta oil from the port in Burnaby to new markets. Opposition was intense.
This is really an investment in the past. The oil industry is a sunset industry.
It just makes no sense.
There is no consent for this pipeline.
Politicians were divided, and it kept ending up in court. So in 2018, the private company bailed, and the feds stepped in and bought the pipeline. The plan was to build it, then sell it.
Prime Minister, how risky is your pipeline plan for taxpayers and the environment?
Is the government going to buy the pipeline?
That pipeline built.
It's an agreement that we believe will deliver a real return on investment for the benefit of British Columbians, Albertans, and all Canadians.
Yeah, about that return on investment. Bit tough now, considering how much building the pipeline cost.
Yeah, I mean, it's jarring, right?
Ryan Bushell is a portfolio manager investing in Canadian energy.
It makes me wonder if private industry was allowed to complete this project. I doubt that the cost overruns to this extent would have been acceptable to shareholders, and so as taxpayers, we should be sort of similarly questioning how this has gone.
So why did this project cost so much? The reasons are laid out in a recent report from TMX. Blame the pandemic, floods, paying contractors, accommodating Indigenous communities, and birds' nests were a problem too.
You see, anti-pipeline activists like Sarah Ross went looking for birds' nests in the path of the pipeline. And when they found them, construction was delayed, increasing costs. We caught up with her last year.
I think what they didn't know about is the real depth of the opposition to the project. So that people are looking for bird nests, which are like this big. They're 4 centimeters in diameter, and we found them because this project is not in our common interest, we believe.
It wasn't just birds' nests. On its website, TMX says it moved more than 100 anthills, almost 150,000 amphibians, thousands of fish and snails. Price tag, $50 million. This is Mark Mackey. He's in charge of TMX finances. At this oil conference in Houston, we asked him about all those construction costs.
We've talked about, and the government has talked about, the economic impact of the project. It will be positive. Yes, it is expensive. To do the project right, that's what it costs to build infrastructure.
How's that playing in the oil patch?
The pendulum has gone too far in terms of what we're willing to do. I mean, in the TMX, there were discussions that they were moving anthills.
That's Jackie Forrest. She's based in Calgary and researches Canadian energy trends.
We have to build these projects in a way that we can compete on a global scale. And we need to protect the environment, but we also need to make it such that this is a place where investors can make an economic return on their investments.
Now, there are 2 main ways Canadians can get their money back. 1, make cash by moving oil, and 2, sell the pipeline.
Several oil companies have signed long-term contracts to pay tolls to use the pipeline. Because of all the mounting construction costs, TMX raised the price. Right now, it's about $11 a barrel. The finance minister is already counting that cash.
And last week, the Bank of Canada estimated that this project alone will add 1/4 percentage point to Canada's GDP.
Bushell says how much cash the pipeline makes will be key to selling it.
The tolling obviously is the key to the economics, basically how much money is going to be made off this project, how many barrels of oil are going to be shipped, and what is the toll going to be on each one of those barrels determines how much somebody's willing to pay for it.
But remember those $11 tolls? The companies say that's too much. It's all going to a hearing at the energy regulator in September at the earliest. As for who might buy the pipeline, the government wants to make sure there are Indigenous investors involved in the sale. But it's not clear how that will all play out.
I do anticipate there will be buyers. I'm not sure that they'll be willing to pay the full cost of construction, but I think there will be buyers for sure for this asset.
Bottom line, the pipeline will likely make cash, someone will probably buy it, but pretty much no one expects Canadians to break even. And investors say that's a problem.
Canada is a difficult place to build these mega projects, and a big part of that is our whole review process and how it's unpredictable what the ultimate costs will be.
And we actually don't have the final bill for the pipeline. That's because much of the money used to build it is borrowed. You think interest rates have made your mortgage more expensive? Imagine having a mortgage on a $34 billion pipeline. Well, all of us Canadian taxpayers do.